in a car race.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity.
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Augmented Reality, your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games in the gaming industry. Coming at you live on YouTube and archived almost anywhere you can find podcasts. My name is Ash, here for the Triple S League, along with Obsidian. And Moontag should be joining us momentarily. So, how are you folks today?
Good.
Yes.
Annoyed. So good and annoyed. Mostly annoyed.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but anyway, we've got mostly fun stories to talk about today. Fun, positive stories. One's a little bit negative, but in a time when the world's kind of in chaos, that's probably a really good thing. We're praying for the people in Ukraine today, and also everyone in that part of the world that is caught in the middle of what's going on there. We're thinking about you. And we know we have some people listening from Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, that kind of a thing. So, yeah, it's crazy. Stay safe, and we're praying for this conflict to end soon. All right. Hello to everyone who is active in the live chat. Please do slam that like button if you haven't already. We really appreciate that. It tells YouTube that you appreciate this content. Got to keep it to exactly an hour today, so yeah, I guess we'll just get started. So you've seen obviously what's on the title of the show today and on the thumbnail, and it's something that we've talked about before, about whether or not the possibility of this could occur. What's the likelihood of this occurring now that Bethesda and Obsidian, Bethesda, the rights holders of the Fallout franchise, and Obsidian, who made Fallout New Vegas, now that they're both under the Microsoft umbrella, what's the possibility that a Fallout New Vegas 2 could happen? Well, apparently it's been discussed. It's in early talks at Microsoft. The original game, of course, came out in 2010, developed by Obsidian, and people have been wanting a sequel to it for a very long time. So
now we've talked about this before. And I specifically said before that that this was basically in the work. That they were looking at this right away. That with the Fallout TV show coming out soon, they're going to want to ride a high of Fallout content at some point, and that the next Fallout game, I believe I've mentioned this on podcast before, that the next Fallout game we have is not going to be from Bethesda Studios. For starters, that's like
years away,
7 to a decade away. Now, that's assuming that progress continues on as current progress suggests that it's going to continue on, which is assuming that Bethesda does not, hire a ton more people to do a bunch of work, that they do not engage with some kind of secondary studio to take over some primary work that they want to do within their sphere of influence, essentially. Basically, Bethesda games are now going to be Starfield, Elder Scrolls, and Fallout, and that they want to work on those three things, essentially. I mean, some people might say, oh, that must be boring. It's not really. I mean, you have the best of all three worlds there as far as games go. So creatively, yeah, you're in three different IPs, but you can do things within those three different IPs that are going to be, unique and special and interesting and reactive and interactive. So I really don't think that this is not on the cards. I think this has been on the cards before the buyout happened.
I'm sure somebody thought of it. Yeah.
I think they sat down and had conversations about it. I've heard this much from some sources that the next Fallout game is not coming from Bethesda, and that's good because they are working together with them. So, who makes sense the most to make that? It's Obsidian. Now, Obsidian, there's been some information coming out of there, and I've asked this. Other people have asked this. This is not a common question at all. If you could work on any IP, what would you, as a studio whole, what is the thought as a studio whole? What are your opinions on which games you would work on, given that you could work on anything? Would you continue to work on your own, like, newer stories? Would you work on, a different IP? What would you work on? And the answer always comes back, because despite the fact that, again, we was having some discussions with some of our members, and yes, I understand that a lot of people have left Obsidian over the years, but the largest contingent, the largest, is it contingent or collection? Contingent, probably. The largest group of people that worked on previous, like, pre-Bethesda Fallout games is still at Obsidian.
Mm-hmm.
Is still at Obsidian. And you have to remember that if you go back 10, 15 years, you're going to... Studios are not the same as they are today. Everybody was involved in the creative process. Everybody was involved in thinking things through, because that's just the way that you had to have it. You had to have more than, you didn't have artist renderer A, in team B. He didn't just do that. Like, the companies were not that big back then. They weren't that, like, some of them were, obviously, but, like, not Obsidian, not Interplay, not these smaller companies. These people are all well advanced in what they do. Sure, not all of them wrote lore for it, but they're all involved and invested in the IP, and it always comes back the same. And it has come back recently, and apparently this was one of the questions that one of the more recent people were asking. And I find it interesting, because, again, I'm positive I mentioned this in the podcast, that the same thing is, like, the asking the employees as a group, as a whole, what thing would you work on? And I believe, like, when the sale happened originally, we talked about this, that they would want to work on Fallout. And this is their baby, this is their universe. They have so many more stories that they were planning. They had hundreds of vaults that they were going to explore, that they were going to write about, that they were going to create. There was just so much more story there for them to get into. And if you've ever played New Vegas and all of the DLC for New Vegas, you'll understand that the people who made this and wrote this really loved this universe, really cared about this universe. And so, again, I find it interesting that when this big YouTuber, who, he's not just a YouTuber, he's a streamer slash media insider, or he's been around in the industry. A lot of his predictions have come true. A lot of his sources are 100%. He's carried a lot of stories, and he asked the same question that I brought up before, which I think isn't him asking that question. I think that was somebody from within the studio responding to him with the same answer that I had given before. So that's not to say that I came up with the answer. That's to say that when talking to these insiders, they use a lot of the same stuff. So that's how we know that we can correlate it and correspond it to truth in this regard. And yeah, I think what we're seeing is that there's a move. And the question was, would you guys want to work on the next Fallout or the next, their own, what was the game called again? The one that they did recently.
What, the Outer Worlds?
Yeah, the Outer Worlds. Thank you. So, would you want to work on Outer Worlds 2, or would you want to work on, this other thing? And they universally said, Fallout was their primary, like, idea if they could work on anything. That they wouldn't actually want to start on Outer Worlds 2 unless they could. Now, that they did start on Outer Worlds 2 before the buyout was finalized, and probably even before the buyout was made public. So obviously their work started there. They've gotten to the point where they created that trailer for it. Is that still the case? Probably, because I mean, once you've invested into a project, it's kind of bad to kind of stop that, go to a different project, then come back to that thing years later. It's probably not the best form of probably not the best use of energy.
But if there was ever a situation where they might say, "Hey, let's actually stop this and go full hog on something else," I think New Vegas 2
be one of them.
This is probably one of those situations where that might actually make sense, because otherwise, I mean, so Bethesda's next Fallout is years and years away. So they've got Starfield, and then they've got Elder Scrolls. So Starfield coming out in November of this year, unless it gets delayed, of course, and then Elder Scrolls years past that, and then Fallout 5, or whatever they call it, years past that. But Obsidian...
No, it will be Fallout 5.
Sure, but Obsidian is up to their necks in projects too. They've got Outer Worlds 2, Grounded, and they've got Avowed. And Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 have both been announced. There have been reveal trailers for them. Now, granted, they're the CG sort of announcement trailers that don't really show you much. So, how much of the game is actually created? So at what stage are they at? Have they invested enough that they wouldn't say, well, we can actually shelve this and go whole hog into a New Vegas 2? I mean, when they say it's in early talks, that suggests to me that they're still working on these other things.
Well, that's for now. That is exclusively, we're talking exclusively for Fallout New Vegas 2. What we need to remember that this conversation is about includes another new Fallout story from a different studio.
So could there be then another studio entirely possibly working on another Fallout game as we speak?
Yeah, and that's where my information has been, pointing this out, that they want a New Vegas 2. They really do. Like, Microsoft wants it, and of course Obsidian wants it. And there's even a large contingent within Bethesda who wants to see another New Vegas 2, because they do see that it was the best of that story that's been told recently. It's not to say that Fallout 3 wasn't great. It's just to say that as far as like tying lore together and being part of the series, part of the story, that Fallout New Vegas was substantially, amazing as far as the addition to that universe. And of course they couldn't really mention that, they couldn't really say that publicly before the buyout happened. But after the buyout happened, they're giving props to their own, family of companies now, so that's now an acceptable thing to do. So you can now go on the record by saying that kind of stuff. So, again, what else is there? Well, Shelter was amazing. It really, really, really kind of like, hit the stride there with Fallout Shelter. And so what we can say, or what we can assume with that being there, is that there's a good chance that they're looking at not just, standard stereotypical RPG. There might be other games, or might be other concepts in the work. And again, it's like, if you've got the Fallout show coming sometime late this year, maybe next year, and you're Microsoft, and this is coming, and that you can capitalize on it, that's a good thing. That opens the door to doing something that you're not, that you weren't, that is going to drive your investment forward. And Fallout is one of their investments. And I think they really need to understand that it could possibly be one of their best investments ever. And that's really important to remember. It's like Elder Scrolls, obviously a huge investment, but I mean, Fallout has the ability. The thing that Fallout has suffered with has been lack of Fallout games. Nobody's rolled their eyes and go, oh, another Fallout title. Well, we did that with 76 a little bit, but that's because of its unpolished
There are
nature.
other reasons, yeah. Execution, not content. Well, somewhat content, but yeah, you're right that the Fallout world is beloved. It has excellent lore. The series has sometimes failed in execution, but even the subpar games are getting tons of play. We still get messages about our best ending video in for Fallout 4. Messages, comments, emails, people actually emailing us about it. So this game is getting lots of play still. And I think, of course, as we talked about, the ease of modding it, the relative ease of modding the game is definitely plays into that. But yes, absolutely. I mean, Bethesda's got two fantastic franchises on their hands, two fantastic worlds and IPs that Microsoft now owns. I think it would be... look at it this way. They bought Bethesda to buy those IPs, right? Not just the studio. The studio is definitely worth something, but I think those IPs are some of the most valuable things in that acquisition. Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And so, yeah, you could start spreading them around to other studios to develop games for. Maybe develop different types of games. No battle royales preferably, but you know what I'm saying. I agree that would be a fantastic move if they were to announce another Fallout game. That I doubt we'll get one this year, unless.
Oh, not getting it this year.
No, it would be fantastic.
That.
It would be fantastic, but they couldn't start working on it until. I think the only way that would happen is if they took an existing project that was already in the works and put a Fallout skin on it, which may or may not be awful to do it that way. But anyway, it's interesting. I would love more Fallout games. I absolutely love the Fallout universe. This, our whole YouTube career started doing lore videos about Fallout, so it's fascinating.
So this is, and again, this is purchased by Amazon. Amazon has had some success, recently as far as television goes. So let me just reiterate this going forward. The next Fallout story, the next Fallout game is going to come not from Bethesda but from another studio, because they're going to be working on this, and they're probably already working on this. We just don't know the studio. We don't know, where it's coming from yet. We're probably also going to get a Fallout New Vegas 2. This is something that is in the pipelines. This is something that is actively being worked on some level. Right now, they're kind of probably coming at it from a planning stage, but there will be more Fallout. There will be more things to come. There will be more stories and ways to open this up, because this, if you want to make a giant IP and you've got a TV show coming about it, you've got you got Fallout 5 coming down the road within the next decade or more, this is going to happen.
Excellent. All right, you are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. It's been a little quiet out there today, but that's okay. We welcome your comments and thoughts in the live chat, or if you're listening after the fact, in the comments below. And of course, please do slam that like button if you haven't yet. Moontag, you haven't said a dang thing yet. What you been playing lately?
I've been playing some Lost Ark. I finished this item shop little mini RPG at the same time. And just kind of chilling and trying to do some artwork at the same time.
Nice.
Multitasking.
Yeah. Those of supporters on our Patreon can get some high-res original Moontag artwork for those who support us over there. So if you're a Patreon supporter and you haven't grabbed those yet, definitely head over there and do that. Yeah, okay, so Genshin Impact, a game that we talked quite a bit about. It is it's kind of
not quite a bit about it. We mentioned it, a
Here and
fair
there.
bit, here
Yeah.
and there. But
Well-
we haven't actually made a ton of guides or anything for it.
No,
so.
you know what? I was mixing it up with that other game that we did a whole ton of guides for. That the name escapes me now. The remake of the old SNES game. Anyway, so Genshin Impact. Well, I mean, you guys were playing it quite a bit, and we've discussed how it's an excellently made game. It's just the gacha mechanics are questionable, and have
They make
caused
the
people
game
to-
difficult to play.
yeah.
A little bit, yeah, but I think it's like part of their whole like limiting gameplay time, like don't spend like forever on it kind of thing. Because like honestly, right now I'm kind of stuck in the Liyue storyline right now because of a level cap issue. I just want to use all my characters. Why can't I level them all up?
Well, see, and that just again, it's making games frustrating for profit. I hate those kinds of practices. It's incredibly frustrating. Anyway, the developer MiHoYo has definitely made a lot of money off it, and now
Billions. If you're wondering, we're not saying you're kind of burying the lead a little bit. They didn't just make a little bit of money. In the first year, they made $2 billion. There are entire franchises that have existed for decades in the gaming sphere that have not come close to making $500 million, let alone $2 billion in a single year.
Right?
well, yes,
My
agreed. They've made a crap ton of money. Yes, we agree on that. I wasn't sure the exact amount, but yes, it even says right here, first $2 billion from the mobile version in its first year. Anyway, what's interesting about what's being reported now is not so much how much they made, but what they're doing with that money.
Mm-hmm.
The company's motto is apparently "Tech Otakus Save the World," and it looks like
Great.
looks like they might actually be trying to do that for real by investing in research into fusion energy. So this is quite fascinating, actually. So
Yeah. Leave it to a bunch of nerd otakus to take a it's not a lot of money in comparison. Like it's a small percentage really. They're taking I think it's $63 million, and they're investing in a hard science / technology driven experimental R&D company to basically try to get a fusion reactor running. There are fusion reactors, air quotes. They don't give a return on the energy that they produce. So right now when you start up a fusion reactor, which again, there's a few of them, you're not actually getting power out of it. You have to put more power into it than what you get out of it. So it's basically like,
so at this
essentially
point,
you're turning on a fan and you're using the fan to blow a windmill, and you're like, look, we're generating power. It's like, yeah, you're generating power at a loss. So fusion technology is a little ways away. They are missing one of the core elements that they need to get it running, which is cybium. It's this rare, super brilliant material that makes these things actually work. But don't tell them that.
cybium. Yes, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, they got to get moving on that kind of stuff. But it's really interesting to see a game studio investing in something that they clearly have a love for.
Mm-hmm.
And I would trust and like praise them a lot more if they weren't still like based in China. They've run up against censors within their own game that brings in literally billions of dollars into their economy. They were still forced to censor a whole bunch of outfits on their characters. They were forced to not just outfits but actual body proportions and sizes. They were told, do this now or else. And I'd have a lot more respect for them if they like up and pulled out of China and said, fine, if you guys don't want us here, if you don't want us to create something for you, we'll go create it in another ecosystem in which they'll get money for that. So they haven't done that. So again, this is more of an interesting story and not super praiseworthy, because again, they might just be investing that money in for a tax break and for some, I wouldn't be shocked at all if it turns out that there's some kind of like government agency that's associated to that project that employs a couple members of the chief party administration officers, children or friends or business partners or family or something like that. Again, that wouldn't surprise me at all, because we're investing 60 some odd $1 million into some futuristic technology. I've heard that line before, and it's not always been legitimately for the good of mankind. So let's just we'll mention that.
I mean,
it's an interest.
While the outcome might be for the good of mankind, I don't know that it's necessarily. I mean, motivations can be all over the place, and also it says here they led a funding round, alongside Neo Capital or NIO Capital, a Chinese investment firm. A total of $63 million will be invested in a company called Energy Singularity. So when they led a funding round, usually when you hear that, I picture, okay, they went out and procured funding from investors. Or does that mean they're investing their own money? Maybe I'm just misunderstanding the terminology here, but where's the $63 million coming from? Did they find it from people? Is this coming out of their own coffers? How much of it's coming from Neo Capital?
As far as I've understood, they gave that $63 million to the company.
Okay.
To start funding and raising even more funds for it.
Okay. The funds will be used for R&D of a small Tokamak experimental device based on high-temperature superconducting material and advanced magnet systems that can be used for the next generation of high-performance fusion devices. So what's a Tokamak? Tokamak is a plant design concept for nuclear fusion wherein plasma is confined using magnetic fields in a donut shape. That's like that's the most science fiction-y thing I think that I could picture right now, using magnetic fields to hold plasma and all this stuff. It is considered by people who know about these things to be the most realistic and achievable nuclear fusion design. So this kind of power plant does not exist. It's theoretical at this point, but I mean, if they could make that happen, we could start generating nuclear power that has many advantages over typical, or the type of nuclear power that we might be familiar with, nuclear fission, where you split the nucleus and it releases a whole bunch of energy. And actually, as I was reading this, I was like, how is it that fission and fusion both release energy? So I had to go look that up. It has to do with the size of the nucleus.
Mm-hmm.
You have elements with a small nucleus. You smash them together, they actually release energy.
You had to go look that up? I thought that was just like common knowledge.
Yeah, sure you did. So anyway,
one thing I'll say is that I don't know, like there's been so many attempts trying to like figure out this whole fusion thing. There's a place in the Arizona desert where they're building 16 lasers the size of football fields to try and create a miniature sun, just like a couple hundred meters, up in the air off of Arizona's desert land, because what Arizona needs is a second sun, literally sitting in orbit a couple hundred feet off the ground, because that's going to be super helpful to the heat waves down there.
Oh yeah,
but I'm getting like Mr. Burns Simpson vibes.
Yeah. Well, you thought Tatooine in Star Wars was its own planet. No, it's just Arizona in the future after they accomplish this.
Yeah, so I it's kind of silly when we have like proof of concept thorium reactors. It's like, we could literally solve the entire energy problem tomorrow by investing in those, or by like blanketing the same amount of like, you know, you blanket like a quarter of Arizona in solar panels, you'd also solve most of the world's energy problems. But
A quarter.
who wants to get technical about this stuff, right? So
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's no problems with doing that, covering that much surface area in solar panels. All right. Well, anyway, so very interesting. So what else is going on in the news? Oh, this was interesting. So so a YouTuber, Prestigious Key, also known as Ryan B, is a YouTuber and streamer. He wanted to buy a replica of a Game Awards trophy, so he went to eBay and found one, and paid $375. You know, that's what he offered on an item that was listed for $500. He offered $375, got it in the mail, opened it up. Lo and behold, it's not a replica. It is a real Game Awards trophy that was supposed to be awarded to the developers of Celeste in 2018 for Best Independent Game.
mm-hmm.
This thing just turned up on eBay. This guy got it, and it's the real deal. It's legit. And so anyway, he contacted the developers of Celeste, who said, "Yeah, we never got our trophy." No, and so what on earth happened to it? Did somebody swipe it?
It got stolen.
Yeah,
well,
probably.
From what I heard, it disappeared when it was en route. So, yeah,
bizarre. So anyway, he's giving the trophy to Extremely OK Games, the new name of the studio. Used to be called Matt Makes Games. Extremely OK Games, the developers of Celeste, it still is. It's one of the best, might be the best platformer ever created. It could be. It's definitely in the top 3 or top 5. But in my opinion, one of the best games ever created. So they definitely deserved that award, and they are getting the trophy. It's getting shipped back to them, and they're paying Mr. Ryan B what he had paid for it. So kind of a feel good story I wanted to throw in here because it was just one of those weird fluke occurrences. Yeah.
Happy it turned out that way.
And I just want to see here if it. He's been scouring eBay for 5 years, it says, to see if there were any replica Game Awards. So, what was it listed as a replica? Oh, on the listing, the seller admitted it had no idea what the trophy's origins were.
Yeah,
maybe somebody was cleaning house.
Because again, people who steal stuff, not to say that this person who sold it on eBay was the one who stole it originally. I suspect very much that that somebody stole it from, in transit. So, either out of a vehicle, or they just outright took it. Maybe it was delivered to the wrong address. They just kind of like shrugged their shoulders, didn't bother to check the address, just, gave it to a friend or something like that. Look at this stupid thing we got in the mail. What's a cholesterol? I don't know what a cholesterol is. Oh yeah, I have no idea. That's the level of like, stupidity that some people not engaged in the industry, again, it's like nobody had at any point did they like decide, hey, let's Google this and find out the story and reach out to contact somebody. And instead it was this YouTuber who managed to do that. So it's just kind of funny to like sit and look and you see that. But yeah, lots of stolen stuff. I mean, my goodness, we saw a video about train cars, like shipping container train cars being like raided, and 90% of the products just end up on the ground around the train cars. And they take the 10% that they think is they can sell, and they just take that stuff and they run off with that stuff. Meanwhile, 90% of the stuff that, packages that are supposed to be going to people, letters, packages, things that people have like, carefully and created for a friend or something like that. These things are just rotting on the side of the train way now. It's crazy. I can't believe this is going on. And these companies are just eating these costs. It's like, hopefully at some point it's like, why don't you just hire some more security? Like seriously,
because that costs more than
it
the
costs
loss.
money, right?
It costs more than the loss. It's the same with bank security.
Yeah,
like they could tighten up the security even more, but
well, it's like MMO security like this. So right now, one of the things that's a problem in Lost Ark is that their chat channels are being spammed with gold sellers and
Oh
scam
god,
sites.
I've been seeing that lately. It's ridiculous.
And it's like, it's nonstop. And it's like, how hard would it be for a big company like Amazon to hire 30 people? I mean, maybe even just 5 to just sit in chat channels and to just like right click, ban this account, right click, ban this account, or right click, send this notification to customer service. Customer service checks the history of it. And in 5 minutes, you've banned one of the things. At some point, you would start to win that. It would become more expensive and more frustrating for these guys to continue, even if it was an automated process. At some point, it gets too tedious for these guys to do it. It's like, why don't we do that? It's because the companies don't care. like that's the sad truth of it. No MMO company has invested in staff to just sit there and ban chatbots all day long. Because again, for some odd reason, they don't see it as a valuable thing to increase your player experience within a game. So definitely disappointed in that, because again, it's like if anybody had the ability to hire a bunch of people to literally sit around and essentially, do a cush job, you'd think it'd be Amazon, but they don't do that. Even people who work for Amazon feel cheated all the time, and so that's kind of sad. It really is.
Yeah.
But the same problem is here. It's like a lot of these problems are just caused by ineptitude of these companies. So I don't know. Like, I would surmise that maybe they had sent this with a courier, and maybe the courier decided to like say that he delivered it when he didn't, and again, it's like you sell it for $50. I mean, we see this, like, people's door cams catch like even like Uber Eats delivery drivers. It's not just Uber Eats, it's like a bunch of delivery drivers. They show up, they drop the food off at the front door, they tap the notification, they take the picture, then they bend down, they pick up the food, and they walk away. Like free lunch. Oh, well, somebody must have stolen it after I delivered it. It's so weird. It's like at some point somebody's got to figure out a way to like fix the delivery systems in the world. Like right now, it's just, I mean, I'm surprised at the insanity of it. I'm surprised anything gets through, to be honest.
It is. You know what? This whole system of just leaving stuff on people's front porch, it's extremely insecure. I don't know how we've gotten to the point where this is just normal. I mean, COVID didn't help, because then it's like, oh, you got to have no contact delivery, so the delivery person doesn't, they don't even knock on your door anymore. So
Nope.
You don't. Usually for us, when the rare times we do, they'll ring the doorbell, and then they'll be getting back in their car as we open the door to grab the stuff. But you just leave it there, and anyone can grab it. Of course, then there are a couple of times when we got McDonald's delivered to our house that we didn't order, like it had gone to the wrong address. And so we called, and they were like, well, we're not taking it back, because we were smack in the middle of COVID, and so we had free dinner. Yeah. I mean, we checked it out first to make sure, made sure it wasn't tampered with or anything. But anyway, so I found this very curious. So Steam and cryptocurrency just do not get along. And we've gotten some insight into a little bit of why, straight from the Gabe's mouth. So Steam was Bitcoin. Steam actually accepted Bitcoin for a little while as a payment method. I wasn't even aware of this. But from April 2016 to December 2017, you could buy games for on Steam with your Bitcoin. And they removed it. They removed that ability due to the volatility of Bitcoin's price and a significant increase in the fees to process transactions on the Bitcoin network. And then also, more recently, they banned NFTs, crypto, and anything of that nature in games that are on their store. And so Gabe Newell had some insight into all of this in this interview with PC Gamer. So he claims that 50% of the transactions were fraudulent when they were accepting cryptocurrency as a payment option. That's insane. That's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
And so
the amount of people who do not like properly secure their Bitcoin accounts or any of their like stuff, like there's it's so weird. It's so weird. It's as weird as the amount of people who lose money on gift cards. It's like, I think it's something crazy. I think it's like 40 or 50% of gift card money just never gets used. It's basically like a money printing machine for the people who create and sell the gift cards, because they know that they're getting a 50% just straight up purchase essentially off of them.
True.
You know,
yeah, because someone gets a card and then they put it somewhere and forget about it, and then eventually, like, I mean, they're not supposed to expire. At least here in Canada, they made it illegal for these things to expire.
Yep.
But in 20 years, if I find my gift card for some restaurant, I mean, who knows? If maybe the restaurant won't exist anymore, or maybe they've moved on to a completely different system and can't read it. I was sent
a gift card in response to a survey type thing that I did, and I remember that I got it. It was supposed to be like $200, and I was like, oh yay! I pulled it up, and it was like 80 some odd dollars had been used on it like a month before I got the card.
What?
And I was like,
BS.
oh, so the company that's literally sending these cards out, physically mailing these cards out, are just like, somebody's there, just activates the card, puts $80 onto an expense because, hey, they're working this job and this job is like, not paying good. So I'm just going to rip off everybody that I'm sending these cards to, for what? And it's like, why and how is this going? Like, why is this going this way? It makes no sense.
There's a theme today. We need more security in every online transaction. It's just nuts, especially and when you think about how, I mean, the companies that, I know this is a little off topic here, but it's one thing for credit card companies to just cover fraud, and a lot of them are good about it. You say, okay, my card was stolen, these charges are fraudulent, you cancel it right away. They're good about covering that, and I think they budget for that, because again, they could make things more secure, but in a lot of cases it costs less just to cover the fraud. But identity theft is like, I've had friends who have gone through that. It's a nightmare, because these companies are calling you all of a sudden, and you have to somehow prove you didn't make these purchases, or you didn't sign up for that timeshare. And it's like, well, how do you prove that? I don't even know. Like, you just yell at them until they believe you? I don't even know how that happens. But like, you can't. How do you prove you didn't put that charge on your credit card? Like, I don't even know how you would go about proving that. All right, but anyway, so Valve, again, they canceled their Bitcoin, they ended their ability to accept Bitcoin as a way of buying games, because partly so because of all the fraud plus the volatility. It says people, it says somewhere in here, people weren't happy when a game could be, oh yeah, here it is. A game could cost $10 one day and $100 the next. So that, with Bitcoin, Bitcoin fluctuation is.
One of his quotes here is, the problem is that a lot of the actors who are in the space who are not people you want interacting with your customers. We had problems when we started accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment option. 50% of those transactions were fraudulent, which is a mind-boggling number that these customers, these were customers we didn't want to have. Yeah, these are people who are buying things, and then and in a lot of those cases, I would say that a lot of those people were buying games. Not everybody who was buying things with crypto were, but I would assume that there was a bunch of people who were buying that stuff and then immediately turning around and selling it on some key site. And it's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
He continues on to say that there's a lot of really interesting technology in blockchains and figuring out how to do a distributed ledger. But I think that people haven't figured out why you actually need a distributed ledger.
Yes,
And the difference
we've talked about that quite a bit because,
Mhm.
and this is talking more about the NFTs now and the crypto-based games, crypto items, and NFTs in games. Yeah, why do you need that? We've asked this question a ton of times. Why do you need this stuff to be on the blockchain in order for it to work? You know,
Yeah,
and
Gabe keeps hitting this right on the head as far as like this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a difference between. He continues on. There's a difference between what it should be and what it currently is in the real world, and that's sort of where we're at with the blockchain based NFT stuff. So much of it is ripping customers off. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't understand how so many people are falling for these crypto scams. You know, these social media people, right? Like these
Mm-hmm.
influencers that are creating their own coin. It's like how many coins created by a social influencer are now like solid investments a year or a couple months after launch. Like I'm pretty sure that none of them are currently,
Right.
and that everybody who's done one has pumped it up, sold it to their community, and then immediately turned around and like sold off all the assets that they have for it, flooded the market, essentially making them worthless. And then they just like, I'm no longer attached to this project. Just so y'all know, just a heads up. I'm not really doing this anymore. It was cool while it lasted. I know a lot of people made so much money. Oh my god, yeah, they and their friends made a lot of money. And it's like there's been investigations into this stuff, and these people they're just so slimy, and it's like, how are people still falling for this? Like, I understand the
It's
first
like,
like 10 times that somebody makes a promise, but the 150th time that it's happened, like really you're gonna throw $10,000 into this? Why? Oh, well, I'm going to become
FOMO.
rich. It's like, no, you're not going to become rich. You're going to be ripped off. It's the same with these other people. Like, my goodness. And then, and like this one guy, he's flat out admitted, it's like, oh yeah, I took 50%, and then my programmers, like the guys who approached me about this, they took 50%. And it's like, and how many other successful projects have they been in? Oh, they've been in tons of successful projects that were very successful for them. I mean, it ripped off everybody who invested in it. Everybody who invested in it lost basically 99% of their worth. But I mean, hey man, you're making money now. It's like, how are you still how are you how can you even show your face on social media anymore, let alone still continue to have an audience? Like that's what I don't get, is like how some of these people rip off their fans, and then they're like, tough luck, and then they still have fans. It's like, I don't understand how that works. Like, is it just people appreciating the hustle? Like, is that what it is? Because it's really messed up if that's the case.
If I understood that, I'd probably be rich too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd find a way to get rich by doing the opposite, or shutting.
It's highly unlikely that we are ever going to create an NFT or cryptocurrency.
We're not going to do that kind of thing, unless there's some practical use for it that is actually a good value, and there may be uses for them out there.
Yeah, no, I remember I had a chat with Trauma in our Discord community semi-recently where we were discussing, like, the utility of NFTs, and he was like, the only like reasonable utility of it is if you bought a ticket to an event and you want to make sure you were the only one who had it, right? Because like technically people could just copy like barcodes or something, like what some of these event reservation or like ticket giving companies send out in like an email. Let's say like they'll send you like a QR code that you scan when you get to the event. So like if you use an NFT with that, that could guarantee that you're the only one who has that specific ticket to that event. But it's very, very mundane use for it, right? None of this like, oh my god, you own this only copy of this picture of a monkey that people can just screenshot.
Yeah, no. So yeah, but things like that I think are where you need to ensure that something, like tickets to an event, a limited resource. You want to ensure that people aren't copying, or scalping them or creating counterfeits. Sure, so it works for that. It works for a money analog like Bitcoin. But then, this other stuff, rip off in my opinion, and in lots of other people's opinions, including Gabe Newell's apparently. By the way, so Steam Deck. Did you and Max talk about the Steam Deck on Maximum News this past week, Saib?
I think we mentioned one of the games that are coming out for it. There's a new Portal game, everybody. Ooh. Oh my god, a Portal 3? Oh my god. Oh no, not a Portal 3. Is it like a precursor? No, I mean sort of, maybe a little bit. It's basically a mobile game that you get to play on your Switch.
On your Switch. You mean the Steam Deck, obviously.
I mean Steam Deck, yes. All right. It's like,
yeah, the one article I read called it a gamelet. I'm like, okay, interesting. It's essentially a walking simulator, from what I understand, or a desk sitting simulator. You're like a desk employee at Aperture. I'm sure it's got some interesting lore and stuff. I'm sure it does. Is it a hint that more Portal stuff could be coming? Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, they did make Half-Life Alyx. Could they make another Portal game? I don't care if it's Portal 3 or if it's Portal something else. Give me more Portal stuff. Now, that said, there are some great, if you own Portal or Portal 2, there are tons of great fan-made mods and fan-made versions, like fan-made Portal games that are just available right on Steam that you can download for free. So I've found some fantastic Portal games. I've done reviews on a couple of them. So if you love Portal and you want a new Portal game, you can. I wish I could remember off the top of my head. Actually, let me just bring up the channel here so I can remember. No, wait, my channel. I'm gonna look at the other channel. We've got multiple channels now. This is scintillating listening. Portal Reloaded. If you like Portal, check. I would significantly recommend you check out Portal Reloaded. It's a fantastic Portal 2 mod. It's free. I think you might have to own the Portal 2 base game, but it's lore friendly. It's free, and they added a third type of portal that's like a time shifting portal. So get ready for some mind bending stuff if you like that kind of thing. I have a full walkthrough of it on our Triple S League YouTube channel, but I recommend that game for sure. All right, going to read a few of the chat comments. It's been a quiet day. What's going on? Everybody's busy or something, sleeping. So Niv says it's a demo game for how the Steam Deck controls work, referring to the sort of Portal game. Yeah, for sure. Sort of how, I mean, now Alyx was, like Half-Life Alyx was kind of it showcased, of course, all a lot of what you could do with their VR system, but it was a full-fledged game.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love a full-fledged Portal game. That would be fantastic. Nobody says I tried very hard to get into. It's nobody again, Saib. Nobody's here. Why is nobody talking in the chat? I tried so very hard to get into the Fallout franchise, but I just couldn't. I'm not really into post-apocalyptic fiction. Well, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, you have to like the genre to be able to get into the game. For sure, absolutely. But it's one of our favorites here, so hopefully, more Fallout content. Always welcome, as long as it's not trash. I shouldn't say always welcome. Let's have good Fallout content again. It's got to be at least the quality of Fallout 4. How about that? Can we say that? Is that fair?
I hope so.
One would hope so.
I'm pretty sure that and I'm pretty sure Obsidian will bring a pretty good. Sorry, I'm distracted by other messages in the chat here. Looks like we're going to have to go take a look at what's being discussed in a certain room on our Discord server when the podcast is on here. But yeah, I'm sure Obsidian will do a good job. But if you really like Fallout, the Fallout style, I thoroughly enjoyed Obsidian's game, The Outer Worlds. The Fallout influence on that game is palpable, and it's made by the same people who made the original Fallout, as Saib mentioned earlier. It's a lot of the same people still there. The Outer Worlds, it's a sci-fi. It's a very different type of setting, but the retrofuturism, just the style of, just the aesthetics and media in the world it's very Fallout-like, and you'll see what I mean if you play it. But yeah, I take a look at some reviews and maybe check that one out if you're a big Fallout fan. So people in the chat keep saying that something's going on in the off-topic room on our Discord server. We'll have to go check into that. We got to wrap up the show here right away anyway. But speaking of Discord, I just wanted to mention to everybody we have a decision to make with regard to Discord. So actually, I didn't discuss with Saib if we should talk about this publicly yet. But anyway, so Discord is changing their rules, and they really want to clamp down on certain opinions. Let's put it that way. And they're also putting in rules about. They're basically becoming. They're going the same censorship route of a lot of platforms like Facebook and Twitter and all of those. We are big proponents of free thinking, challenging prevailing narratives, and free speech. So that doesn't really align with our values at the Triple S League. So we have to make a decision about if we're going to stay on Discord, move somewhere else, or maybe diversify and be in multiple places. So if you have opinions on that, let us know. Any final thoughts, folks?
Nope.
All right, well, we should wrap up then. So thank you, everybody, for checking out the show today. Thank you for the conversation in the live chat. Please do slam that like button if you haven't yet. Check out the Discord server. We may have some issues with Discord, the company, but we have a fantastic community there on Discord with lots of great people, so I recommend you check it out. And also, you can find links to, we do have a Patreon available if you are interested in supporting us that way. We really appreciate that. Of course, subscribe here on Triple S Podcasts and over on the Triple S League channel. And also, we want to especially thank our Patreon supporters and channel members who whose names you've seen throughout the podcast, appearing at the top of the screen. Really appreciate you folks. Really appreciate everyone who listens, shares, likes, subscribes, and comments. That's what helps get our content out there. So thank you so much, everybody. We will talk to you again very soon. Bye.